The box was not heavy. That was the strange thing. Her whole life was inside that one small box, and it barely weighed anything. Sara stood outside the hospital in the rain. Drops of water ran down her face, mixing with tears she didn't even realize were there. She had worked here for over 10 years. And today, it was over. Her name tag was gone. Her white coat was gone. Everything she had worked for, gone. Sara was 38 years old. She was a heart doctor in Chicago, a good one. Patients trusted her. She worked long hours because she believed in helping people. Her parents sacrificed everything so she could have a better life. Becoming a doctor was her promise to them. But Sara had one problem. She never asked for help. When life hurt, she worked more, and slowly, something inside her began to break. It started with a complaint. Then came an investigation. A patient had died. The hospital looked into everything carefully. In the end, they found that Sara had done nothing wrong. She was completely cleared, but still, she was called into the office. The head doctor didn't even look at her properly. "Sara," he said softly, "the hospital believes you've been under too much stress. We think it's best if you take some time off." Sara sat there, still and calm. "I haven't made a single mistake in 11 years. This isn't about mistakes. It's about how things look." That was it. No argument, no explanation, just the end. She walked out without saying another word. That night, Sara sat alone in her apartment. She poured herself a glass of water, but couldn't drink it. Her hands were shaking. She picked up her phone and called her mother. "Mama, I lost my job." Silence. Then her mother said softly, "Come home, Sara." Sara closed her eyes. "I don't have a home, Mama. I gave it up for the hospital." She ended the call, and then she broke. Not quiet tears. Years of pain finally coming out. She slid down to the kitchen floor. A doctor who had spent her life fixing broken hearts, realizing her own heart had been broken for a very long time. 3 weeks passed. Sara stopped counting the days. The milk in her fridge expired. The curtain stayed closed. Her phone stopped ringing. And eventually, she stopped checking it. She was disappearing, slowly, quietly. And the scariest part was, she almost didn't care. On the 22nd day, something changed. It was 2 in the morning. Sara sat on the kitchen floor again, not crying this time, just empty. She looked at her hands. These hands had saved lives. These hands had comforted patients. These hands had held people in their final moments. And now, they were doing nothing. She stared at them and thought, is this it? Is this how my life ends? And then a memory came back, her father's voice. She was 12 years old again, standing in their small kitchen. She had failed an exam for the first time. She expected anger, but her father just smiled gently and said, "Sara, a candle doesn't stop being a candle. Just because someone blows it out, it just needs one small flame to start again." She had forgotten those words for 20 years, but now they came back, soft, quiet, but powerful, like someone reaching into the darkness and holding her hand. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Sara froze. Who would come at this hour? She opened it slowly. It was her neighbor, Irene, 74 years old, soft white hair, kind eyes. She was holding a plate of warm food. "You haven't opened your curtains in days. Eat something," Sara tried to say. "I'm fine," but the words wouldn't come. For the first time in her life, she couldn't pretend. Her voice broke. "I don't know who I am anymore." Irene looked at her for a moment. Then she said something unexpected. "Good. Now we can start." She handed her the plate. Didn't ask questions. Didn't give advice. She just turned and walked back to her apartment. Sara stood there in the doorway, holding warm food and crying harder than ever before. Not because she was broken, but because someone had seen her. Someone had cared enough to knock on her door at 2 a.m. without asking for anything in return. And that small, simple act changed something inside her. That night, Sara ate. She slept for 11 hours, and when she woke up, nothing in her life had changed. She still had no job, no plan, no identity. But something inside her was different. She stood in front of the mirror and really looked at herself. Not as a doctor, not as someone important, just a person. For the first time in years. And strangely, it didn't feel scary. It felt like a beginning. She started going outside again. No plan, no purpose. Just outside. Every morning. She sat in the park with a cup of tea. She watched people. A father teaching his daughter to ride a bicycle. An old couple sharing a sandwich. 2 pigeons fighting over bread. And one day, she laughed. A real laugh. It surprised her. She covered her mouth. But then, she let it happen. A month later, she walked into a small free clinic near her apartment. No white coat, no title, just herself. The nurse looked at her. "Are you a doctor?" Sara paused. For just a moment, then she said, "Yes, I am." And this time, it felt true. The clinic was small. The patients were poor. They had no money, no insurance. But they had something else. They had need, and Sara listened to them. Really listened. Not because she had to, but because now she understood. Listening wasn't just part of the job. It was the whole point. 14 months later, Sara opened her own clinic. Not big, not fancy, just a small place in a forgotten neighborhood. She treated patients who had nowhere else to go. Some paid her with vegetables. Some just said, "Thank you." And that was enough. She worked hard. But for the first time, she felt peace. One spring morning, her mother came to visit. She stood quietly, watching Sara with her patients. Then she said softly, "Your father would have cried seeing this." Sara smiled. "I know, Mama." Sara was not famous. She was not rich. She had lost her job, her title, her old identity, but she gained something greater. She found herself. And here's where her story teaches us. Sometimes, the life you are holding on to is the very thing stopping you from living. Losing everything is not the end. It's the beginning. Most blessings don't look like blessings at first. They look like loss, pain, failure. But they are not. They are turning points. Because in the end, what you give up is never as important as what you become. And the day you stop pretending and start living honestly, that is the day your real life begins. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who is going through a hard time right now. They may need these words today. And if you are that person, please do not give up. Something greater is still waiting for you. If this story touched your heart, and you believe stories can change the way we see life, then follow Mystic Wisdom, because sometimes one story is all it takes to change everything. We'll be back soon with another story that might change your life. Until then, be kind to yourself, stay safe, and stay healthy. Bye.